Hey everyone, welcome back to TK's Tech Talk. I'm TK and this is TTKK, or better known as the Trusty Kitchen Knife. And today we're going to be unboxing the Sony ZV-E10, and this is the one that comes with the lens, and you can see here it says ZV-E10L. The L denotes that it comes with the lens, and it says here, I'm not sure if you can read it, it's EPZ1650. So that's the kit lens, the standard kit lens that comes with this camera if you choose to buy it with the lens. And what's interesting at the moment is I bought it here in the UAE, at the market price, but I actually got this with it. Now I'm not sure if it's something that's promotional. This is the wireless grip. This is it's like a Bluetooth remote control essentially for the camera. And what's interesting is that apparently you can use it like this as a tripod, and you can use it as a handheld, like for vlogging and things like that. And you can also use it as a remote control away from the camera, so you can take videos and photos as far as I know. So I'm not going to focus too much on this in this video. And if you have seen my previous video like 14 months ago, I'm actually recording on an A6500, which I bought last year for a very good price. Now I must admit, if you're looking for technical details about any camera or why this camera might be a better choice than the A6500, I'm only going to give you my opinion. I'm going to give you my opinion about why I chose to buy this camera. Not necessarily, I'm not a video buff or a photo buff, and most of my video recording and camera use is for these YouTube videos that you guys may have seen or are watching now. So I'm going to give you my reason for buying this camera, even though I already have an A6500. So let's just open out the packaging first. Separate these boxes. So just have a quick look around that box. It's still sealed up. VPT2BT. That's the model number, and I think it's a new thing that came out quite recently, and it can be used with some of the other cameras as well, like the RX 100 and things like that. Has a case inside as well. So it's powered by a CR2032 battery, so I'm not sure what sort of life that gives, or if since it's just a remote control, I'm guessing it doesn't actually use the battery all the time. That's just a guess, by the way. And then it has a pouch to put it inside. So we'll leave that on the side for now. Let's remove this outer packaging. So, and it's good to see that here in the UAE, I believe Jumbo is an authorized reseller, and it's still in the shrink wrap and the seal is still there. So let's start hacking away at all of this packaging. So while I'm doing this, I'm just going to explain a little bit about why I even bought this camera. So if you've been watching my videos already, you might have seen that I record a lot of stuff like this, mostly just products, or sometimes some of the PlayStation videos I'm recording the TV screen, and you'll see also that my content is at best mediocre quality, because I literally just don't know that much about the cameras, about the lenses, about the settings. I've tried to learn a little bit. I've managed to get it to a place where I think is okay for my recording that I'm doing like this, and it seems fine. It gets the job done for me, because my main point is to try and talk about items and products and describe their use and purpose, and try and bring value to the audience where possible. So even though I do feel I need to try and concentrate on improving the quality of the footage and things like that, which I will try to do now that I have a new camera, well, I should at least try and spend some of that time doing that. So let's just have a quick look around the box. So here you can see we have the kit lens, the 1650 that we talked about, and ZV-E10, the alpha symbol, some blurb, and nothing else exciting. Okay, let's cut away at the seal. No turning back now. Yeah, so there's a few things. So I was actually looking for a lens. I was borrowing this lens from a friend before, to be honest. The one that's inside this box, the 1650, and I was using that for my recording of the videos before. And I found that this lens, having some troubles here, is actually better, especially if you don't want to do much configuration for recording video. At least I found myself that this particular lens here, sometimes, you know, it goes out of focus. I actually recorded an entire video. It was a comparison of some computer cases, and I ended up not posting that video just because it kept going out of focus, and I did not realize at the time of recording that that was happening. So because obviously, like I said, I'm not exactly a pro or anything, so I need something a little bit more, you know, it actually has an international warranty. I'm not sure exactly what they class as international, but local is 2 years and international is 1 year. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, so then, you know, I thought, well, right now I'm using an 18-135 in case anybody's wondering what I'm blabbing on about, the difference between the lenses. So I'm using an 18-135, and with this camera you get the 1650, and I borrowed the 1650, which by the way is a kit lens that has been around for a very long time, as some of you may know. And I actually found it much easier to do the product photography with that, to do this type of video with that lens. So I started looking for this lens, and all of a sudden I came across this new camera, and it's got power leads, by the way, from for every region by the look of it. Let's just put those to the side. And also inside we've got the little dead cat, as some people call it, or maybe the wind filter that clips right on. We'll have a look at that in a moment. We have the not so fancy battery charger, and we have a strap, which I definitely won't be using. We have a USB-C cable. Hooray! This is one massive upgrade. A USB-C cable for charging, for data transfer. I'm not sure if the speed is increased. I will check that. The battery, ironically, is exactly the same as the A6500. This battery has been around for donkey's years, and it looks like, I'm guessing to keep the cost of this camera down, they've done that, so there's nothing else inside the box. Let's get rid of that box. And let's remove the main star of the show from the packaging. So yeah, that really is it. And I saw this camera and I was like, oh, that looks nice. And it's very light compared to the A6500. And I saw it in the shop as well. I had a look at it. It has a fully articulated screen. So let's just open that up. So you can turn it all the way around. You can protect it. You can close it. You know, these things make a difference. And these are things that I was missing, even though I didn't know, you know, like, you could get these features, to be honest. I didn't know at the time. And because I bought this camera, it was an impulse buy. I just saw the A6500 last year at what I thought was a good price, because I didn't know anything about cameras. But anyway, so yeah, so I had it, and I thought, well, it's got the lens that I want, and it's got features that I've been looking forward to. I'm sure you guys have seen lots of videos on this already, but it has the microphone jack, obviously. And at the moment, I'm using a Boya BY M1 lavalier microphone to record this video, and that would also go into here just fine. And the second flap has a USB-C connector, HDMI connector, and a headphone jack, so you can actually listen to the audio whilst recording if you need to. So that is a very handy feature. Now, the USB-C, another great feature they've added here is direct like webcam support, which I tried to use the A6500, and it was just, the software, you have to install some Imaging Edge software or something, and it's just really clunky, and I didn't really like it. But apparently this one does 720p out the box without having to do much configuration. The controls also, for somebody like me, are a lot simpler. That dial on the top, I don't even use the dial that's on the A6500 because I don't know what to do with it, because I don't really take photos. And so again, like I said, this is for someone who doesn't really use the camera that much for photography or anything like that. My primary use is for these photos, for these videos for my YouTube channel. Or you're probably wondering, why don't I just use my phone? And that definitely is an option that I could have. Unfortunately, my phone is a Z Fold 3 and it doesn't really sit nicely in a tripod. So yeah, I could buy an iPhone instead of a camera. That's definitely an idea, because iPhones typically take good videos. Even the new Samsungs have pretty good videos. But what's good about these cameras, and like I said, though I'm using an 18-135 zoom lens to record this video, I can change this lens. So even if I choose to keep my A6500 with this lens, I can use the lenses on both cameras. I can have maybe one for stills, and I can use one for video. Maybe I can use them to record 2 videos at the same time. Now, I know I'm going on a lot. I'm just trying to give you a feel for why I chose this camera. The other thing that I liked was the simplicity. I know that this is not for camera buffs and photo buffs. I know this is not amazing, but the defocus and the background blur, things like that, the product autofocus, things like that. For me, this is something that I want without thinking about how to mess about with camera features. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you can play with these cameras a lot. And I know the ZV-E10 is probably an even easier camera to use. So you're probably saying, well, why didn't you just buy the older ZV-E10? Well, like I said, because I already had a 6500 with a lens, I felt like I had more versatility with this camera because I could change the lens. And then you guys may have seen all the videos around the rolling shutter and having an A6500. Why would I buy another Sony with the stabilization issues and the rolling shutter? And again, this, I believe this is all a plastic body, and that's probably how they made it lighter. One thing I think they could have done though, considering, you know, it's supposed to be interchangeable, when they've packed it with the kit lens, they should really have packed them separately and given you covers for the camera and for the lens, right? Just so that you can carry them more conveniently if you have other lenses. But anyway, that's a minor issue, especially for the price that you get this camera for. And then the other thing is where the A6500 is quite old now, and Sony now has some data it records with the camera, and that gives you some additional data. I've forgotten the word, it's on the tip of my tongue. Gyroscopic data, and it records the gyroscopic data while you're making the video, and that stutter and everything, it can magically be gone by the use of the Sony, what's the software called? It's gone. Okay, I'll remember in a moment. But there's a software which you can use which will get rid of all of the shake and even the rolling shutter and the stabilization. It does crop in a little bit because this has a massive crop if you try to use the active stabilization. Right, that's enough of me blabbing on. So I'm going to try and get one of my old phones out to try and record, or maybe even on my Z Fold 3 if I can mount it somehow, to show you a comparison with the A6500. So back in a bit. Okay, so I'm back. I've been playing with the camera for a couple of days. The EV10 on the left here, the A6500 on the right here. I've switched the lenses around. This is the SEL-18135, which was the kit lens I had with the A6500, and this is the SEL 16 to 50mm, which was the kit lens that came with the EV10. So that software, by the way, is called Catalyst Browse. I'll try and put the thing up on the video, so you might already have seen that if you watched the unboxing part. And we're just going to have a look at the differences between the two cameras. The first thing I want to mention is that both of the cameras have the same 24 megapixel sensor. So that sensor has been around for some years now. I think it came out on the A6000 if I'm not wrong, along with the A6300 was it, and the 6500, and this is the 6500. Then the same sensor was used on the 6100, the 6400 and the 6600. So let's have a look at some of the differences. The first thing is obviously the grip here on the left. We have a more squared off grip. It's a bit smaller because the camera is a little bit smaller. It's not much smaller, but the grip here on the A6500, as you can see, is a lot bigger and a lot more comfortable. So that's the first difference. Then let's have a look at some of the button arrangements on the top. The first thing we can see immediately is that this dial is now gone. We instead have a button which allows us to flip through the different modes instead of having this rocker, and I think some people probably prefer this. We still have the aperture and shutter control through the dial here. We have only one customizer button on the top here and two on the top here. And this one also acts as, I think this was the defocus or the background blur. I've forgotten which around it is, but that is the shortcut there. It's either the product showcase. I think this is the defocus button. The product showcase is on the back. So then we have a much bigger record button, and just to quickly show you on the back here, this one has a tiny record button. So there's a big difference there for people who like to record video. We still have the hot shoe mount on both, which is active hot shoe mount, which allows accessories to be connected like your mics and things like that. The microphone is a big difference. This thing here is a 3 capsule microphone. It sounds a lot better than the microphone that's built into the A6500. The on-off switch again has also changed. We have a much more simple on-off switch here. Here it's incorporated with the shutter button. Also a slider, it's like a slider, but it slides around rather than across. And then we also have the zoom functionality on this shutter button, which we don't have here. And that is for only for lenses that support it. So the kit lens does support that. So that's a nice feature to have if you did buy that kit lens. So one of the things I was mentioning earlier is the main reason I wanted to buy a new lens was because I'm having some issues with this, and I've actually not even uploaded some videos because of the focusing issues I had after recording. And on the small screen, it's hard to tell what's going on, especially because I'm having to put the tripod a lot higher and the camera a bit further back, because the focal distance of this lens is a minimum of 45 centimeters, whereas the focus distance on this lens is 25 centimeters. So I had a much better experience recording on this lens for this type of thing that I'm doing now. And I can easily also say that the phone is much better, but then the lighting seems to change a lot on the phone. I'm having also focusing issues here, so I apologize for that, for the changing lighting and also the focusing issues that you may see. So in terms of physical dimensions, they're very similar, but the A6500 is slightly larger. The A6500 also has electronic viewfinder, so if you like taking photos with that, that is something really to think about if you are thinking about upgrading, or not really necessarily upgrading, but switching to the EV10, because there are some nice functionalities on the EV10, which is the reason why I actually bought the camera instead of just buying a lens in the end. I was thinking about either having two cameras or maybe even selling on the A6500 if I don't end up using it as much. So let's have a quick look at the side view. So on the sides here, well, I don't know if I can get these to stand, probably not, but let's have a look at them one by one. So first with the EV10, if we open this up, we have first at the top we have a microphone jack. Okay, so you can see that there, microphone jack, that's still there. And then we have a USB Type-C connector, which is nice. From my experience so far, I'm still getting the 40 megabytes per second transfer speed, but I'm not sure if that's just because of the cable I was using. That was just the first test, so I will check that and let you know how that gets on. Then we have the mini HDMI port, and we also have a nice feature here, which is a headphone jack. So for those of you who like to monitor audio, this is a great feature. Then on the A6500, we have a micro USB port, the mini HDMI port, and a headphone jack, and there's no USB jack. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention is the all metal construction on the A6500, which is also weather sealed, and this camera does not unfortunately have a weather sealed body. However, with that in mind, this camera is much lighter than this camera by about 100 lens, at least the body. We're only talking about the body here, we're just comparing the body. So the body is about 100 grams lighter. Now, if you're going to be holding it on a tripod, doing some vlogging, in a handheld mode, it will be a lot easier to record on this for longer because overall the camera is lighter. Switching over to the back, and here, let's talk about these one by one, I guess. But you can see they have similar dials. It's a little bit cleaner on the new one, and again the grip is a lot better on this camera, to be honest. And there are some buttons missing on the EV10, and most of the stuff is controlled from the menu system rather than from these buttons, shortcuts that are available. So one massive upgrade is the screen. So you can see here it has a fully articulating screen. So if you're recording like this, you can view yourself nicely there, much better than this camera. And obviously once the camera is like this, you can put the lens just like the conventional cameras like this with a screen at the back. The screen is a little bit taller, but they're more or less the same. They both look pretty good. And the best thing about this is the screen is always protected once it's away. It does feel like, it's definitely not as premium build quality as this camera, but this one on the other hand only flips up maximum like that. So when I'm recording and I've got the camera high up, I have to keep checking back to see how it's going, how it looks, or if I'm out of focus. And I've had a lot of times when I've missed the camera and not realized, and you may have noticed that in some of my videos. Okay, moving over to the right, nothing really exciting to see apart from that record button we saw earlier, and the grips you can see are clearly different. This one definitely feels much more premium, much better. The NFC logo is there, though I do believe this one also has, the EV10 also has an NFC. I've been watching some videos around the EV10, and it is a very promising camera because you're able to now get an APS camera system like the A6500 for a lot less money. And whoops, sorry about that, I have a very shaky tripod that I'm using here, lost the focus as well. Let's try and gain some of that focus back. There we go. So This also has a recording light, and when you're recording on the screen, it also shows a red border. I'm sure you've seen all of that, but my main thing here was to show the differences and to explain why I've opted for this camera, even though I already have an amazing A6500, which even today is still a very good camera, because at the end of the day, they use the same lenses, and they both record 4K 30, they both record 1080p 60, whichever one you prefer. And some of the nice features of this one over the A6500, actually let me do it the other way around. The A6500 does have one benefit. It has, well, two benefits rather. It has the in-body image stabilization, and it also has the weather seal body, the all metal construction, the much more premium, more heavy duty body. So they're the two main benefits of the A6500. However, when you're recording video, the in-body image stabilization, it is good, like it does help in some way. But one thing I do understand is that if you have an optical steady shot lens, an OSS lens with in-body image stabilization, you still only get 5 axis stabilization, 3 from the in-body stabilization and 2 from the lens. So it doesn't change that much. It doesn't give you like twice as good stabilization. It actually makes slightly better stabilization. And in video, because we have that amazing benefit of the free software, which is Catalyst Browse, it allows us to stabilize the video. It does crop in a little bit, but without the use of a gimbal, and it's for free. So where sometimes you may get some shaky video on the A6500, and even on this camera, this has no in-body stabilization, we're able to get slightly better stabilization, or maybe even a lot better on some circumstances, by using this Catalyst Browse. And I have used it, and it does really work quite well. So that is a very handy feature. In terms of battery life, I believe this one's slightly more efficient, though they use exactly the same batteries. This one is rated at 440 shots, I think, and this one was at 320. It's still disappointing that they decided to stick with this old battery. I think it might have been okay to maybe increase the size of the grip a little bit and have the bigger battery from the A6600. I think that might have been a good decision. Yeah, I do agree it would have been more expensive to create an all-metal body construction, but going forward, if we see that vloggers, I know they've aimed this camera at vloggers, and maybe even I'll start recording my face now that it's supposedly a vlogging camera. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Sometimes I do feel like talking to the camera, so maybe I will have to start doing that. So if you have any questions about any other differences between these two, do let me know. I did actually get this one with the grip. I will try and unbox that at some point and do some playing about with that. Otherwise, I still have my lavalier mic, the Boya BY-M1, and also the BY-MM1, which I can use, right off the bat with this camera as well. But like I said, the camera in here is actually quite good if you don't have the other microphones available at the time, or if you just want to carry the camera in a small case to make some video or photo. That microphone should do a decent enough job. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Please do feel free to like and subscribe, and I will try and do a more in-depth comparison if time permits on these cameras, maybe like image quality or recording or something like that if I get the time. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.